Hey everyone. So here we have the new and improved hydroponic greenhouse. There's the 4 original buckets now cleaned up. All the tomatoes and cucumbers have pretty much run their course. So these are going to be planted anew. This time I'm going to go with cherry tomatoes. I think I want to do a watermelon. I think that'd be a blast. So maybe do a watermelon on this end one here so we don't have to worry about it being off somewhere, because they vine out pretty quick. So just put the perlite in case you're wondering what perlite is. This stuff right here, I have no idea what it's made out of, some artificial stuff, but it keeps moisture very well. It's very, very light. You can buy a huge bag. Let's see, in fact, there's a huge bag right out here. I'll show you real fast. It's extremely light. So perlite, this whole bag, this huge bag, was 20 bucks over at a kind of a farm and ranch store. And it's fantastic medium to grow your plants in. It's really dusty, so you have to unfortunately clean it. So we use these 1 gallon bucket nets, I guess you can call them. You can find them on Amazon. I'll probably put it in the description. And we take a bunch of perlite, put it into it, and then just rinse it like crazy into the water and get all that dust off of it. And you'd be amazed how much stuff comes off of it. And put the net back on the bucket so that way none of this perlite gets into the water system, because you don't want these into your nutrients and all that kind of stuff. It'd clog up your pump. It's all sorts of bad. In fact, I do actually have one of these nets around the pump, just prevent anything that possibly could go into the water system to get sucked into the pump. That pump is expensive and awesome. So it's doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 4 new buckets, and technically these are called Dutch buckets. But these particular buckets are from Lowe's, because you can get them for like $3. Better than that one, which I paid like $15 for. So I definitely go with Lowe's buckets. You want to stay away from white, because you want to make sure that no light is getting into the inside, sunlight getting into the inside, because you'll stimulate growth, algae growth inside, and you don't want that. In fact, I had one of these blue buckets, which you would think would be, pretty opaque. On this back side is where it was last time, and it still had enough light to get just a little green in there. So we went in and put the black bucket on this side, so this back wall, when the light filters in, doesn't promote any growth inside. So this is my side, this is her side. She's now new to hydroponics, but she saw the fruits of it last time, and she's game on now. So we've got a new drain pipe, 2-incher, coming all the way around down to the back into my existing system, and then into the reservoir just like it was before. And I went ahead and put on a way to introduce nutrients into the system. Found out that beforehand, or before the last time I did this, the nutrients were a pain in the butt to continue putting in, because I had to bend down into there, and there's all this growth on everything, so it was a huge pain to get into there in order to add the nutrients. So added this new deal here to be able to add nutrients without having any problems. I should have shot a couple pictures of the results of the tomato plants. We had, and there's other ones, we had tomato plants and cucumber plants. The root bundle down at the bottom was all the way up to the top. It had gone through this netting all the way into the bucket and coiled at the bottom of the bucket, where the water basically sits stagnant there and then eventually filters its way down. The bundle of roots was all the way up, and they were beautiful looking roots. They were white, they were clean, they were really nice looking roots, and just tons of them, thick. So the plants were extremely happy as far as that goes. Let's see. In fact, if you even stopped the water for probably, I wouldn't do it for more than half a day, but you could have stopped the water, since all the water was still collected down here, and they would have been fine because they were submerged. That would almost be like a flood type system, flood and drain system. But it worked perfectly. I'm not going to change a thing. I'm going to take that exact same structure I had before and move it into this new one. She's going to plant, I think, tomatoes, cucumbers, butter lettuce. That was the thing she was going to do. I 3D printed some net cups, smaller ones, specifically to put butterless in. So we'll see how that goes. So there'll be perlite into the little net cup inside this perlite, so it's kind of self-contained, and be able to grow that there. So we got this. We just finished gluing all the pipes together with the handy PVC glue here. And so we were checking for leaks. We did have one leak on the end there, but I've now band-aided it, so we should be okay there. And then these giant net pots that fit on top of a 5-gallon bucket list, or 5-gallon bucket. Those, they weren't expensive. They were like $3 or something like that from Amazon. I'll have to include the price on that too in the description. But really fantastic stuff. And then this right here is the plumbing. So we've got the pump inside the reservoir here. This is the hose coming off the pump, coming up into this little T section right here. Oops. And then it comes out to, this gives me the ability to turn off my side or her side, just in case there's issues. That way everything else continues to run. Here's a manifold right here that runs my side, and there's her manifold on the other side. So it just gives us a little bit more abilities, and then 4 lines for each. Based on what I experienced last time, 4 buckets in this 10-foot area-ish is about right. You might be able to squeeze one more in here, but it gets pretty dense with foliage after a while. This right here is the pH meter and doser, and all the electronics are in here. Here's the pH cord coming out and going right into the reservoir, and because the water I'm using is house water, essentially coming out of the faucet, it's high in things like calcium and all kinds of minerals, so the pH is far too high. So it's been pumping pH in 1 second intervals every minute for the last, I don't know, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, something like that. So it'll continue to do that until the pH is at around 5.5. In fact, it just went a second ago. So, and then this right here are the pH bottles, the base and then the acid back there. I'm almost out of acid, I gotta get some more. But I just drilled holes into the top, and it just sucks it on through. And then the reason we cover it is because the sun affects the chemicals, and we don't want it to neutralize anything. So we went ahead and covered it as best we can. Eventually I'll probably get like a 4-inch PVC pipe and a couple of caps and put them in there to prevent the sunlight from affecting them. I can't do much about the heat, unfortunately. This is Texas after all. But at any rate, it's looking very good. I also have a air stone in there being fueled by this guy right here. It's a pretty decent pump, but it's just pumping air in through that little manifold right here. It's only using one of the little outlets here at the moment. I haven't had any problem with air, so I wasn't going to add any more. No need. And then I've got fuel in the reservoir. I've got a hose coming in here and see if I can get you a picture, and a little float valve in there to keep the water level at the proper height, so we never have to worry about running out of water. Everything's pretty well self-contained except for the nutrients themselves, which still has to be done manually. Once I figure out how to make that automatic, I'll let everybody know. But this right here it's based on an oak, so I'll be able to talk to it, reprogram it if necessary remotely. I don't have to take this back into the house ever. Let me open this up if I can. I got it on there pretty tight. Yeah. Crack the seal on there. Kind of get a look at what's inside. So there's some of the electronics, the 2 pumps, then the pH meter's down at the very, very bottom. That blue light's the pH meter. And it's talking wirelessly to the internet. And there it just went again. And I've already primed the pumps with a couple of buttons I have on there. So it's pumping acid out of this. In fact, this is the in. I had to label it in, out, and then this is out and in for the base if it needs it. So everything looks like it's working perfectly. In fact, I think it's been plenty long enough. I can go ahead and plug back in the water pump. There we go. And we should be getting some, yep, we have good flow on the water. That's a really good pump to be able to handle all 4 of these with this kind of distance and not even bat an eye. And I'm back. Apparently my phone ran out of hard drive space. I had to delete some old pictures. Anyway, just plugged it in, and I have no idea what I was telling you before I realized that my camera had stopped, but I was just pointing out that this is the longest run, and look how much flow I have. Just tons and tons of water coming out of there. So the pump that I have is really, really good. I have no idea off the top of my head which one I have, but I'll include it in the description like everything else. The reason I bury the water, bury the nozzle into the perlite is because I don't want algae growth. I learned from experience last time that if the water was above, you got tons of algae growth around where the water was shooting out. So now I bury the water, and it limits the algae growth quite a bit. And then what will happen is you'll get the pop-up from whatever it is you're growing. So let's say I'm growing tomatoes, you'll get your little shoots coming up, and you get this black ground cover that prevents weeds that you normally put on your lawn or whatever, wherever you're gonna, you don't want weeds and grass or anything like that. You lay that stuff down, that fabric down, and it prevents any light from getting in. Same thing works here. You cut a little circle and put it on top of the perlite, and then cut a little slit for your plant to come through, and that prevents any of that algae growth from happening. And plus, it looks real nice with that black. But anyway, I believe that's all you missed when I was rambling for no reason earlier. Water is going well. Here is some of the net pots that I'd printed earlier. There's now butter lettuce in them, as well as a coffee filter to prevent the perlite from leaking out, and the coffee filter would be removed once things start growing properly. So that is the start of Greenhouse 2.0. I'll keep you posted.